The transport ship New Dawn moved quietly through space. Inside, 847 passengers sat in their seats or walked through the hallways. Most of them were humans traveling from the colony planet New to Station, a big trading post where many alien species lived and worked together. Captain One stood on the bridge, watching the stars pass by. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had flown ships for 30 years and knew space travel well. This trip was supposed to be easy and safe. They were flying through neutral space where no fighting happened. "Everything looks good, Captain," said First Officer Wu. She was younger than One, with short black hair and quick hands that moved across the control panels. "We should reach station in 6 hours." One nodded. He felt relaxed. This route was one of the safest in the galaxy. Down in the passenger area, Dr. Haywon sat with her daughter Na. Haywon was a scientist who studied alien life forms. She had gotten a new job at station and was excited to start. Na was 8 years old with bright eyes and a curious smile. She pressed her face against the window, looking at the stars. "Mom, how many alien species will I see at the station?" Na asked. "Maybe 20 or 30 different kinds," Haywon answered, smiling. "Some will be very different from us. Some will look almost human." "Will they be friendly?" "Most of them, yes. The galaxy is mostly peaceful now." But Haywon was wrong. Peace was about to end for everyone on the New Dawn. On the bridge, alarms suddenly screamed. Red lights flashed everywhere. One jumped from his chair. "What's happening?" Wu's fingers flew across her controls. Her face went pale. "Captain, 3 ships just appeared from hyperspace. They're surrounding us. They're raiders." One's stomach dropped. They were known across the galaxy as pirates and slavers. They captured ships and sold the crews to work as slaves on mining planets. They were cruel and had no mercy. "Raise shields, try to jump away," One ordered. "Shields are up, but they're too weak against their weapons," Wu said, her voice shaking. "They're blocking our jump drive. We can't escape." The ship shook hard. Passengers screamed. Things fell from shelves. The lights flickered. "They're attaching to our hull," Wu reported. "They're going to board us." One grabbed the ship-wide communication system. "This is the captain. We are under attack. All passengers stay calm and stay in your seats. Crew, prepare for boarding." But everyone knew the truth. The New Dawn was not a military ship. They had no weapons and no soldiers. They were helpless. The boarding party broke through the airlock. 20 warriors in heavy armor stomped into the ship. They were huge creatures, almost 8 feet tall, with thick gray skin and 4 arms. Their faces looked like angry lizards with too many teeth. They carried energy weapons that glowed with dangerous light. The commander was called. He was bigger than the others and had scars all over his body. He laughed when he saw the human crew members standing in the hallway with shock on their faces. "Weak little creatures," said in rough galactic common language. "Your species file says you come from a low-gravity world. This will be easy." But had never fought humans before. He didn't understand them. When they tried to grab the passengers, something unexpected happened. The humans fought back. A middle-aged man punched a warrior in the face. The warrior's head snapped back. The man had broken his own hand, but was hurt too. A woman grabbed a metal pipe and swung it at another warrior. She was small, but she moved fast and hit hard. The pipe dented the warrior's armor. "What is this?" shouted. The reports said they were weak. More humans joined the fight. They used chairs, tools, anything they could find. Even though they were bigger and had armor, the humans wouldn't stop. They fought with a wild anger that scared the raiders. 3 fell. One had his throat crushed by a passenger who knew how to fight. Another was beaten unconscious by a group of older men. The third was stabbed with a broken piece of metal. On the bridge, Wu knew they were running out of time. They would soon control the ship completely. She had to do something. "Captain, I can send a distress signal," she said quickly. "There's an old Earth military protocol. If I use it, Every human military base nearby will get the message. How many bases are nearby? One asked. I don't know, maybe none, maybe several. One looked at the screens showing the fighting in the hallways. His people were brave, but they couldn't win against armed warriors. Do it. Send the signal. Wu's fingers danced across the controls. She typed in the old military codes that Earth had created decades ago. The message was simple: human vessel under attack, civilians in danger, 847 passengers, children aboard, immediate assistance required. She added their exact location in space and hit send. The signal shot out into space at faster-than-light speed. It would reach any human military ship within 50 light-years in just minutes. But before Wu could do anything else, the bridge door exploded inward. Warriors stormed in, grabbed one by the throat and lifted him off the ground. You will tell your people to stop fighting, growled, or I will start killing them one by one. One looked into the alien's angry eyes. Even though he couldn't breathe, he managed to smile. Blood ran from his mouth where he had bitten his tongue. You made a mistake, one whispered. What mistake? Threw him against the wall. One slid down to the floor. Wu ran to help him. The captain looked up at the commander and said something that would later become famous across the galaxy. You attacked human civilians. You threatened our children. And now my people are coming. They will bring every ship they have. And when they arrive, you will learn why Earth is called a. Laughed. It was a cruel, mocking sound. Your people, we have studied you. You are merchants and scientists. You have a small fleet. You avoid war. We have nothing to fear from humans. One's smile grew wider despite the pain. Then your information is 73 years old. You're about to get an update. Ordered his warriors to lock all the passengers in the cargo holds. He put guards everywhere. The new dawn was now his prize, and he planned to sell every human aboard to the slave markets. But 50 light-years away, in 7 different locations, alarms were going off on human military ships. Admirals were reading the distress signal. Orders were being given. Ships were preparing to jump into hyperspace. And every single human soldier who heard about the attack had the same thought. Civilians were in danger. Children were in danger. And that meant only one thing: war. The distress signal from the new dawn reached the UHSF carrier, Indomitable 17 minutes after Wu sent it. The message appeared on every screen on the bridge at the same time. A loud alarm started ringing. Admiral Sangwoo was in his office when he heard the alarm. He ran to the bridge. He was 55 years old with sharp eyes and gray streaks in his black hair. He had fought in wars before and knew what different alarms meant. This one was bad. Report, he ordered as he entered the bridge. Sir, we have a distress call using old military protocol Alpha 9, said Commander Dongha, his second in command. It's from a civilian transport, the New Dawn. They're under attack by raiders. 847 passengers aboard. Multiple children confirmed. The bridge went completely silent. Every officer stopped what they were doing. In human military culture, there was nothing worse than an attack on civilians, especially children. It triggered something deep in every human soldier. Sangwoo's face became hard like stone. How many other human ships received this signal? Checking now, sir, said the communications officer. I'm seeing confirmations from, sir, 6 other carrier groups received the signal. They're all within 50 light-years. Are they responding? Yes, sir. All 6 are preparing to jump. Sangwoo nodded. Good. Tell all ships in our carrier group to prepare for immediate jump. Combat readiness level 1. We're going to get our people. Sir, what about Galactic Council protocols? Dongha asked. We're supposed to report the situation and wait for peacekeeping forces to respond. Do it, report to the Council, but we're not waiting. Within minutes, the Indomitable and its 18 escort ships were ready to jump. Across the ship, soldiers put on their armor. Pilots climbed into their fighters. Doctors prepared medical bays. Everyone knew what was happening. Everyone wanted to help. In the Special Operations section of the ship, Lieutenant Commander Wu briefed his team. They were called the Reapers, and they were the best boarding specialists in the human fleet. Wu was 32 years old, built like a wall, with cold eyes that missed nothing. "Listen up," he told his 30 soldiers. "Civilian transport under control. 847 hostages, including children. We're going in hard and fast. Rules of engagement: protect the civilians at all costs. Any who surrenders, we take alive. Any who resist, we put down. Questions?" "How many are we expecting?" asked one soldier. "Intel says standard raiding party, 20 to 30 warriors. They think they've caught easy prey. They're wrong." The soldiers checked their weapons and armor. Each one of them had trained for thousands of hours. They could fight in zero gravity in the dark in any condition. And right now, they were angry. Someone had hurt their people. Major Bora was preparing her mechanized unit in another part of the ship. She commanded 60 soldiers who wore powered armor. The armor made them stronger and faster and carried heavy weapons. Bora was short but fierce, with a reputation for never leaving anyone behind. "Our job is to secure the exterior of the target ship," she told her troops. "We make sure no ship escapes. We make sure no one else gets hurt. We are the wall between them and our civilians. Understood?" "Yes, ma'am," her soldiers shouted together. 30 minutes after receiving the distress call, the Indomitable and its carrier group jumped into hyperspace. They were heading to the new dawn at maximum speed. But they weren't alone. The other 6 carrier groups that received the signal were also jumping. From 6 different directions, human warships were converging on one point in space. It was the largest response to a piracy attack in galactic history. The Galactic Council received Earth's report about the incident 40 minutes after it happened. The Council was a government that included 43 different alien species. They made laws for the galaxy and sent peacekeeping forces to stop crimes. A council overseer named read the report, was from a species called the. They looked like tall blue birds and believed in careful, slow diplomacy. Thought the human response was insane. "They sent 7 carrier groups," said to his assistant, "for one piracy incident. This is completely inappropriate. Get me a communication channel to the human fleet commander." Minutes later, face appeared on the screen in Admiral Sangwoo's office. "Admiral, I have read your report. While we sympathize with your situation, your response is drastically disproportionate. This is a minor piracy incident. Stand down and allow Council peacekeepers to handle this matter. We will arrive at the scene in 14 hours. Sangwoo stared at the alien. 14 hours. "Yes, that is the standard response time for such incidents." "And in 14 hours, how many of my people will be dead? How many will be sold into slavery? How many children will be traumatized forever?" "Admiral, you must understand the proper channels." "No," Sangwoo interrupted. "You must understand our channels. When our civilians are attacked, when our children are threatened, we don't wait for paperwork. We don't debate protocols. We act. Every second we waste is another second they're suffering." "This is not how civilized species behave," said. His feathers ruffled with annoyance. "Then maybe we're not as civilized as you thought. Or maybe your civilization never learned what it means to actually protect your own people. You are making a serious mistake. The Council will. The Council can file whatever complaints they want after we bring our people home." Sangwoo out. He cut the transmission. Dongha looked at his admiral with worry. "Sir, you just insulted a council overseer. There will be consequences." "I know, but I can live with those consequences. I can't live with abandoning our people for 14 hours while we follow proper channels." The Indomitable dropped out of hyperspace 18 hours after the distress call was sent. They emerged in the neutral zone where the new dawn was supposed to be. Admiral Sangwoo looked at the main screen expecting to see one captured ship. What he saw made him smile with grim satisfaction. Ships were appearing everywhere. From 6 other directions, 6 more carrier groups were arriving at the same time. One by one, human warships materialized in space around the location of the new dawn. Carriers, destroyers, cruisers, support ships, hospital ships, every type of vessel in the human fleet. Count, Sangwoo asked. Sir, counting now, 41, 6390, 107 ships total and more arriving. Final count, 127 ships, sir. 127 ships, 7 complete carrier groups. Every ship that had received the distress call had come, and they had all arrived at almost the same time. In the center of this massive fleet was one small transport ship, the New Dawn. It looked so tiny and helpless surrounded by all those warships, but those warships were there for one reason, to protect the people inside that small transport. Scan the New Dawn, Sangwoo ordered. I want to know the situation. Sir, sensors show approximately 30 life signs. 847 human life signs, all still alive. The humans appear to be locked in the cargo areas. No serious injuries detected, but we're reading elevated stress hormones in all of them. They're terrified, Sangwoo said quietly. Get me a channel to the ship, put me on every screen they have. Aboard the New Dawn was panicking. His sensors had gone crazy when all the human ships started appearing. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Over 100 warships, for one transport vessel. It made no sense. This can't be real, he said. This must be a sensor error. It's real, Commander, his technical officer said. I've checked 3 times, they're really here. Then every screen on the captured ship turned on, found himself looking at a human face. The human wore a military uniform with many badges. His expression was calm, but his eyes were cold as ice. Vessel, Admiral Sangwoo said, you are surrounded. You are in possession of 847 human civilians. You have exactly 18 minutes to release every single person unharmed and surrender your ship. If you comply, we will treat you according to the Galactic Convention on Prisoners of War. If you do not comply, we will board your vessel and retrieve our people by force. Choose wisely. The transmission ended, stood frozen. He looked at his warriors. They all looked scared. What do we do? One of them asked. Made the worst decision of his life. Get the human captain. Bring him here. We'll use him as a hostage. They won't attack if we threaten to kill their own people. His warriors dragged one to the bridge. The captain's face was bruised and bloody, but he was smiling. You think this is funny? Shouted at him. I think, one said slowly, that you are about to learn a very important lesson about humans. We don't negotiate with people who threaten our civilians. We eliminate them. Opened a channel to the human fleet. Human Admiral, I have your captain. If you attack, I will kill him and 10 other passengers. You will back away or they die. There was silence for a moment. Then Admiral Sangwoo's voice came back. His tone hadn't changed at all. You have wasted 3 minutes. You now have 15 minutes to surrender. After that, we come in. And I promise you, you will not enjoy what happens next. I will kill them, screamed. Then you will die immediately after. The choice is yours. 14 minutes, 30 seconds. The channel went dead. Realized his mistake too late. The humans didn't care about his threats. They were coming no matter what, and he had nowhere to run. 14 minutes passed. Did not surrender. He stood on the bridge of the New Dawn with his energy weapon pressed against Captain One's head. His warriors were spread throughout the ship, guarding the cargo holds where the human passengers were locked up. They're bluffing, told himself. They won't risk their civilians. No military force would. He was wrong about humans. Admiral Sangwoo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and looked at the countdown clock. When it reached 0, he spoke one sentence. Begin operation. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations. 17 different human assault ships moved toward the new dawn at the same moment. They approached from 17 different angles, covering every possible section of the transport. Each ship carried a team of Reapers, the Special Forces soldiers trained for exactly this kind of rescue. Wu was on the lead assault ship. He and his team wore black armor that made no sound. Their helmets had sensors that could see through walls. Their weapons could fire bullets or energy beams depending on what was needed. "Remember," Wu told his team through the communication system, "civilians first, always. If you have to choose between killing an enemy and protecting a civilian, protect the civilian. We can hunt the enemy later." "Yes, sir," his soldiers responded. The assault ships attached to the new dawn like spiders landing on prey. Cutting tools began slicing through the hull in 17 places at once. The inside felt the vibrations and heard the sound of metal being cut. They knew the humans were coming. "Defensive positions," shouted, "kill anyone who comes through." But they had never fought humans in close combat before. They didn't understand what they were facing. The hull breaches opened simultaneously. 17 teams of Reapers poured into the ship like water breaking through a dam. They moved fast and silent, like deadly shadows. Wu's team entered through a breach near the cargo holds. 3 warriors were waiting there with weapons ready. They fired at the breach point, but the Reapers had already moved. They weren't where they expected them to be. A Reaper appeared behind the first and shot him once in the back of the head. The warrior fell. Before the other 2 could turn around, 2 more Reapers dropped from above where they had been clinging to the ceiling. Both were dead in seconds. "Cargo hold 1 secured," Wu reported. 12 civilians safe. Moving to cargo hold 2. All across the ship, similar scenes were happening. They were big and strong and well-armed, but the Reapers were better trained, faster thinking, and fighting for something they didn't understand. Every Reaper knew that behind each door were terrified humans who needed rescue. That knowledge made them fight like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. A group of 5 tried to ambush a Reaper team in a hallway. They had good positions and heavy weapons. It should have worked. But the Reapers used something they didn't expect: the ship's ventilation system. 3 Reapers came through the vents above the ambush point while 2 others created a distraction in the hallway. They died without firing a shot. In cargo hold 3, Dr. Haywan held Na close. Her daughter was crying softly. All around them, other passengers sat in the dark, afraid and exhausted. They had been locked in this hold for 18 hours without food or water. Suddenly they heard sounds outside. Shouting, weapon fire, something heavy hitting the floor, then silence. The door to the cargo hold exploded inward. Smoke filled the room. Through the smoke, figures in black armor appeared. Haywan pulled Na closer, not sure if these were rescuers or more enemies. Then one of the armored figures removed his helmet. It was a young man with kind eyes. "It's okay," he said in clear Korean. "We're human military. We're here to take you home." The passengers started crying. Some laughed. Others just sat in shock. They couldn't believe they were really being rescued. "Is everyone okay?" the soldier asked. "Is anyone badly hurt?" "We're okay," Haywan managed to say. "Scared but okay." "Good, stay here for now. We're still clearing the ship. Once it's safe, we'll move you to a medical ship." Another soldier appeared in the doorway. "Sir, all cargo holds are secured. All civilians accounted for. 3 sustained minor injuries during the initial boarding by the... Everyone else is unharmed." "Excellent, continue the sweep." On the bridge, was realizing his situation was hopeless. He could hear the fighting getting closer. His warriors were dying one by one. The humans were moving through his ship like an unstoppable force. He still had Captain 1 as a hostage. He pressed his weapon harder against the captain's head. "Tell them to stop. Tell them or I kill you." 1 looked tired but unafraid. "You can kill me, but it won't help you. They'll just move faster to avenge me. You never understood humans at all." "What don't I understand?" shouted. "We don't abandon our people. Not ever. Not for any reason. You thought you could take civilians as slaves and nothing would happen. You thought wrong." The bridge door exploded. Reapers flooded in, saw them and made his final mistake. He started to pull the trigger on his weapon. He never finished the motion. Wu shot him 3 times. The first bullet hits weapon hand, destroying it. The second hit his shoulder, spinning him around. The third hit his leg, dropping him to the floor. The whole thing took less than 1 second. 2 Reapers grabbed one and pulled him to safety. Medics rushed to check his injuries. Other Reapers secured the bridge and arrested the surviving warriors. "Clear," Wu shouted. "Bridge is secure, Captain is safe." From the Indomitable, Admiral Sangwoo heard the reports coming in from all 17 assault teams. All civilians secured. All hostile forces neutralized or captured. 0 civilian casualties. 3 Reaper soldiers with minor injuries. Operation complete. Sangwoo let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Time: 4 minutes and 37 seconds from breach to completion, sir. 4.5 minutes. They had rescued 847 people, cleared an entire ship, and defeated 30 warriors in less than 5 minutes. It was the fastest rescue operation in recorded history. "Get medical teams over there now," Sangwoo ordered. "I want every civilian checked by a doctor. Get them food and water, and someone find out if any of them need mental health support." Within an hour, all the passengers from the New Dawn were transferred to human hospital ships. They were given clean clothes, hot meals, and medical care. Counselors were available to talk to anyone who was scared or traumatized. Haewon and Na were in one of the hospital ship's family rooms. A doctor had checked them both and said they were physically fine. Now they sat together on a comfortable bed, just holding each other. There was a knock on the door. Wu entered, still wearing his armor but with his helmet off. He knelt down so he was at Na's eye level. "Hey there," he said gently. "My name is Wu. I was one of the soldiers who helped get you out. How are you feeling?" Na looked at him with wide eyes. "You saved us." "That's my job, and I'm very glad we got there in time." "I was scared," Na said in a small voice. "Being scared is okay. What happened to you was really scary, but you're safe now, and you know what? You were very brave." "I didn't do anything brave." "You stayed calm. You listened to your mom. You didn't panic. That's very brave for someone your age." Na thought about this. Then she did something that surprised everyone. She got off the bed and hugged the big armored soldier. Wu carefully hugged her back, being gentle despite his strength and heavy armor. "Thank you," Haewon said, tears running down her face. "Thank you for coming for us." "Always," Wu said. "That's what we do. You're human, you're one of ours, we will always come." Back on the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Sangwoo was dealing with communications from the Galactic Council. Overseer's face was on the screen again, and he looked angry. "Admiral Sangwoo, you have committed a serious breach of galactic law. You used overwhelming military force in a situation that required diplomatic response. The Council demands an explanation." "I have one word for you," Sangwoo said calmly. "Success. 847 civilians rescued. 0 casualties. Mission accomplished in under 5 minutes. If that's a breach of your laws, then your laws need to change. You could have negotiated. Negotiated with slavers who were threatening to kill children. No, we don't negotiate with people like that. We rescue our people and we capture the criminals, which is exactly what we did. The Council will be filing formal complaints about this incident." "File whatever you want. My people are safe. That's all that matters to me." Sangwoo closed the channel. He looked at Dongha. "What's the status of our fleet?" "All carrier groups are maintaining position. The prisoners are secured. Their ships are under our control. And sir, we're getting messages from the other carrier groups. They all want to know if you need any additional support." Sangwoo smiled. "Tell them thank you, but we have everything under control. Tell them they did good work today." As the message went out, Sangwoo looked at the new dawn on his screen. The small transport ship that had been captured was now surrounded by 127 human warships. It was a powerful image, a visual representation of what humans would do for their own. The message was clear to everyone watching. Hurt a human and you don't face one soldier. You don't face one ship. You face every human who can reach you. You face an entire species that refuses to abandon their own. They had learned this lesson the hard way. Soon, the entire galaxy would learn it too. 3 days after the rescue, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. Representatives from 43 different species gathered in the Grand Council chamber on the neutral planet of Nexus Prime. The chamber was a massive dome with seats arranged in circles, each species having their own section. The topic of discussion was simple: what to do about the humans. Overseer stood at the central podium. His blue feathers were ruffled with agitation. "Fellow council members, we face an unprecedented situation. The human species has demonstrated a level of military aggression that threatens the peace we have built." On the screens around the chamber, footage played showing the human fleet arriving in space. 127 warships appearing at once. The images were intimidating even to watch. "They deployed this massive force for a single piracy incident," continued. "They ignored our protocols. They refused to wait for proper authorities. They took the law into their own hands. This cannot be tolerated." A representative from the Empire stood up. They were a warrior species who respected strength, but they succeeded. They rescued all their people, 0 casualties. How is this a bad thing? "It sets a dangerous precedent," argued. "If every species responds to crimes with overwhelming military force, we will have chaos. We will have war. Or," said the representative, "we will have fewer crimes. Pirates and slavers have operated freely because they know our response is slow and weak. The humans showed what happens when you actually protect your people." Other species began arguing. Some agreed with that the humans had gone too far. Others supported the human response. The debate went on for hours without reaching any conclusion. Finally, someone suggested they should hear from the humans themselves. The council agreed and sent a message to Earth's ambassador. Ambassador Jin received the summons while she was having tea in her office on Nexus Prime. She was 70 years old with silver hair and sharp intelligence. She had been Earth's ambassador for 15 years and had dealt with many crises, but this one was different. She arrived at the council chamber the next day. Every seat was filled. Every species wanted to hear what the humans would say. The chamber fell silent as Jin walked to the central podium. She stood there for a moment, looking at all the alien faces watching her. Then she began to speak. "Members of the Galactic Council, you have asked me to explain why humanity sent 127 warships to rescue 847 civilians. You want to know why we didn't wait for your peacekeeping forces. You want to know why we used what you call overwhelming force. Very well, I will tell you." She paused and looked around the chamber. 73 years ago, humanity joined the Galactic Council. We were excited to be part of the galactic community. We read your species files. We learned about all of you. We tried to understand your cultures and your values. But I don't think you ever really studied us. You classified Earth and you classified us as Class 9 dangerous, and then you stopped looking deeper. You saw a species from a hostile planet and assumed we were like other species you had encountered. You were wrong. Jin's voice grew stronger. "Let me tell you about humans. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. We had predators that could tear us apart. We had diseases that killed millions. We had weather that could freeze or burn us. We had earthquakes and floods and storms. Earth was not a kind mother. Earth was a harsh teacher." But we survived. Not just survived, we thrived. We domesticated the predators that hunted us. We built cities in deserts and frozen wastelands. We sailed across deadly oceans. We climbed the highest mountains. We didn't just adapt to Earth, we conquered it. Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. But the most important thing we learned from Earth wasn't how to fight or how to survive harsh conditions. It was how to work together. Because on Earth, alone you die. Together you survive. We learned to value our families, our tribes, our communities. We learned that protecting each other was more important than protecting ourselves. Jin's eyes swept across the chamber. That is what you saw 3 days ago. That is why we sent 127 ships. Because 847 of our people were in danger. Because children were threatened. Because in human culture, there is no greater crime than harming those who cannot defend themselves. You say we used overwhelming force. We call it adequate force. You say we should have waited 14 hours for your peacekeepers. We say 14 hours is 14 hours too long when our people are suffering. You say we ignored protocols. We say protocols that prioritize paperwork over people's lives are bad protocols. Stood up, Ambassador, you cannot simply ignore galactic law whenever you disagree with it. Then change your laws, Jin said firmly. Make them better, make them faster, make them actually protect people instead of just filing reports about crimes after they happen. That's not how civilization works, another representative said. Then maybe your definition of civilization is wrong, Jin replied. You want to know what civilization means to humans. It means no one stands alone. It means when one of us calls for help, all of us answer. It means we protect our weak, our young, our innocent with everything we have. That is our civilization. That is who we are. She took a breath and continued. I understand this makes you uncomfortable. I understand you're afraid of what human military power could mean. But let me be very clear about something. We don't want conquest. We don't want to rule over other species. We just want to protect our own people. But we will protect them, with 1 ship or 100 ships, with negotiation if possible, with force if necessary, and we will not apologize for that, ever. The chamber was completely silent. Jin looked at each council member. You can file complaints, you can pass resolutions, you can condemn our actions, but it won't change who we are. It won't change what we'll do the next time one of our civilians is in danger. So I ask you this, instead of trying to make us weaker, why don't you try being stronger? Why don't you protect your own people with the same commitment we do? Why don't you make pirates and slavers afraid to operate in your space? Why don't you show the galaxy that civilized species don't tolerate crimes against the innocent? Jin stepped back from the podium. I'm done speaking. You can vote on whatever you want, but know this, Earth is not changing. We are what we are, and what we are is a species that protects its own. She walked out of the chamber. The silence lasted for several seconds after she left. Then the arguing started again, louder than before. But something had changed. Some of the council members were thinking about what Jin had said. They were thinking about their own slow response times. They were thinking about how many of their own people had been hurt because they followed protocols instead of taking action. Over the next few days, something unexpected happened. The Galactic Council didn't punish Earth. Instead, they reclassified humanity's military threat level. They updated Earth's species file with new information, and they began discussing reforms to their peacekeeping response times. But the real change happened outside the council chambers. News of the human response spread across the galaxy. The story of 127 ships appearing to rescue 847 civilians became famous. People started calling it the Armada. Species that had ignored humans suddenly wanted to meet with them. Trade agreements that had been refused were now approved. Systems that had banned human ships from their space now invited them. But more importantly, pirate activity in human space dropped to almost zero. Word spread among criminal organizations. Don't touch human ships. Don't take human prisoners. The humans don't negotiate. They don't pay ransoms. They come with warships and soldiers, and they come fast. The Dominion issued a formal apology to Earth. They outlawed all piracy operations and paid massive compensation to the rescued passengers. They did this not because they were sorry, but because they were terrified. The humans had shown what they could do with 127 ships. They didn't want to find out what they could do with more. Other species started reaching out to Earth, asking for military training partnerships. They wanted to learn how humans fought. They wanted to understand human tactics. More importantly, they wanted to be allies with a species that had proven it would actually fight to protect people. On Earth, the soldiers who participated in the rescue were celebrated as heroes. Wu and his Reapers received medals. Admiral Sangwoo was promoted. But they all said the same thing in interviews. They were just doing their job. Protecting civilians was what they signed up for. The rescued passengers returned to their normal lives. Some chose to stay on station. Others went back to New. Dr. Haywon started her new job and became famous for writing a book about the experience called The Day 100 Ships Came. Na recovered from the trauma with help from counselors and support from her mother. She never forgot the moment when armored soldiers broke down the door and rescued them. She never forgot Wu kneeling down to comfort her. When she grew up, she would join the human military herself, wanting to help others the way she had been helped. But the biggest impact was on how the galaxy saw humans. They were no longer dismissed as merchants and scientists. They were no longer seen as weak or passive. They were now recognized as what they truly were, a species from that had learned the most important lesson of all. Alone you die, together you survive, and humans would never let one of their own stand alone. The message was clear. The galaxy had learned it, and everyone knew the story would be remembered forever. The story of the SOS that brought the unstoppable Armada. 6 months had passed since the rescue of the New Dawn. The galaxy had changed in small ways and big ways. The story of the human response had become legend, told in bars and academies across hundreds of worlds. The New Dawn itself had been completely repaired and upgraded. It now had better shields, better sensors, and a dedicated security team. Captain One still commanded it, though the scars on his face reminded everyone of what had happened. He wore those scars with quiet pride. Today, the New Dawn was completing its journey to station, the same journey that had been interrupted 6 months ago. The passengers were different now, but among them were Dr. Haywon and Na, finally reaching their destination. As the ship approached the station, Haywon looked out the window with her daughter. Station was huge, a city in space where dozens of species lived and worked together. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved around it like bees around a hive. "Are you nervous?" Haywon asked Na. Na thought about it. "A little, but not like before. I know if something bad happens, people will come help us." Haywon smiled sadly. Her daughter had learned a hard lesson at a young age, but it was a true lesson. Humans did help each other, always. The New Dawn docked at the station. The passengers prepared to leave. But when the airlock opened, something unexpected happened. A group of station security officers was waiting there. They stood at attention in neat rows. The security team included members of many species. They were tall, strong, and small quick. When Captain One stepped off the ship, all of them saluted him at the same time. One stopped surprised. The head of station security, a named, stepped forward. "Captain One," said in a deep voice, "on behalf of station security, we want to say thank you." "Thank me for what?" "For showing the galaxy what real protection looks like, for showing us what we should be doing." Looked at his diverse security team. "Since your incident, many stations have changed their security protocols. We respond faster now. We take threats more seriously. We learned from your people." One didn't know what to say. He just nodded. We all just did what needed to be done. That's exactly the point, said. You did what needed to be done, not what was easy, not what was convenient, what was needed. That's the lesson. As Haewon and Na walked through the station, they noticed other changes too. Human writing appeared on signs now, something that hadn't been common before. Several shops and restaurants had messages welcoming human visitors. People from various species nodded respectfully when they saw humans walking by. They reached Haewon's new laboratory at the Xenobiology Research Center. It was a beautiful space with windows looking out at the stars. Her new colleagues were waiting to meet her. There were 3 other researchers, a human named Moon, and a named. Welcome, Dr. Haewon, said, his blue feathers ruffled in a sign of happiness. We've been looking forward to working with you. Thank you, Haewon said. I'm excited to be here finally. We read about what happened to you, said. The small bird-like alien looked concerned. That must have been terrible. It was, Haewon admitted, but it taught me something important. It taught me that my daughter and I are part of something bigger, part of a community that doesn't abandon its members. That's a good way to see it, Moon said. He was a young researcher with friendly eyes. And it's true for all of us here, not just humans. We all learned from what happened. They spent the next hour showing Haewon around the lab and explaining their current research projects. Na played in a corner with some educational programs designed for children. She seemed happy and relaxed. Later that day, Haewon received a visitor at her new quarters. She opened the door and was surprised to see Lieutenant Commander Wu standing there in a civilian clothes. He was wearing simple pants and a jacket instead of his military armor. Wu, Haewon said, what are you doing here? My ship is docked here for a few days, he explained. I wanted to check on you and Na, make sure you're settling in okay. That's very kind of you. Na heard his voice and came running. Wu, she hugged him around the waist. He picked her up easily. Hey Na, how do you like the station? It's amazing. There are so many different aliens here, and everyone is really nice. I'm glad, he set her down gently. Are you still having bad dreams? Na shook her head. Not as much. Mom says it's okay to be scared sometimes, and I know if something bad happens, you'll come save us again. Wu knelt down to her level. Well, I hope nothing bad ever happens to you again, but yes, if you ever need help, someone will always come. That's a promise. He stayed for dinner. They talked and laughed. It felt natural, like they were old friends. When Wu finally left, he hugged them both goodbye. Take care of each other, he said. And remember, you can contact me anytime for any reason. Thank you, Haewon said quietly, for everything. Meanwhile, on the UHSF carrier Indomitable, Admiral Sangwoo was in a meeting with several other admirals via hologram. They were discussing the changes that had happened in the galaxy over the past 6 months. We're receiving more requests for military partnerships than we can handle, one admiral said. 17 species want to train with us. 12 want mutual defense treaties. What's the Council's position on this? Sangwoo asked. They're cautiously approving it. I think they realize that having strong allies is better than having weak members who depend entirely on Council peacekeepers. Another admiral spoke up. There's also been a significant decrease in piracy across all sectors. Criminal organizations are avoiding human ships, but they're also being more careful around other species too. They don't want to trigger another response like ours. Sangwoo nodded. Good, that was the point. Not to conquer anyone or scare everyone, just to show that attacking civilians has consequences. Some species are still concerned about our military power, the first admiral said. Let them be concerned, Sangwoo replied. As long as they understand we only use that power to protect people, not to harm them. Fear can be useful if it prevents crime, but respect is better. His second-in-command, Captain Dongha, entered the office after the meeting ended. Sir, You have a message from Earth Central Command. They want your opinion on something. What is it? They're proposing a new initiative. They want to create a rapid response force specifically designed for civilian rescue operations. Multiple carrier groups that can reach anywhere in human space within hours. Sangwoo smiled. That's an excellent idea. Tell them I fully support it. There's more, sir. They want to name it after you, the Sangwoo Protocol. The Admiral shook his head. No, if they name it after anyone, name it after Captain One and the civilians of the New Dawn. They were the ones who showed courage first. We just responded. But Central Command didn't listen. The new rapid response system was officially named the Sangwoo Protocol anyway. Within a year, it would become the model for civilian protection across human space. On Earth, in military academies and universities, the incident was being studied carefully. Students analyzed the tactical decisions, the communication protocols, the coordination between 7 different carrier groups. The rescue operation had been nearly perfect. But teachers made sure students understood something else too. The technical excellence was important, but it wasn't the most important thing. Professor Dahl, who taught military ethics at the Earth Space Forces Academy, always ended his lectures about the incident the same way. The reason this operation succeeded wasn't because we had good ships or good weapons or good tactics. It succeeded because everyone involved understood one simple truth: no human gets left behind. When you truly believe that, when you commit to that principle completely, you fight differently. You think differently. You become unstoppable not because you're stronger, but because you're fighting for something that matters more than yourself. His students would nod and take notes. Many of them had joined the military because of the New Dawn incident. They wanted to be part of something that stood for protection and loyalty. Back on station, weeks turned into months. Haewon's research went well. Na started school and made friends with children from different species. They built a good life. Wu visited whenever his ship was nearby. He became like family to them. Sometimes he brought other soldiers with him, and they would all have dinner together. Haewon's apartment became a gathering place for military personnel and civilians alike. One evening, a year after the rescue, Haewon and Na stood at an observation deck on the station. They watched ships come and go. Among them was a human carrier group on patrol. "Mom," Na said quietly, "I've been thinking about something." "What is it, sweetheart?" "When I grow up, I want to be like Wu. I want to help people." Haewon put her arm around her daughter. "That's a wonderful goal. Do you think I can do it?" "I think you can do anything you set your mind to. And I think you'll be amazing at helping people. You already know what it feels like to need help. That will make you better at giving it." They stood together watching the stars. The carrier group jumped to hyperspace, leaving a brief flash of light. Somewhere out there, those soldiers were protecting people, making sure no one had to face danger alone. The galaxy had learned an important lesson from the New Dawn incident. They learned that humans were not weak merchants or passive scientists. They were survivors from a who had learned that the only way to survive was to protect each other absolutely. But they had also learned something more important. They learned that this kind of loyalty, this kind of commitment to protecting the innocent, made humans the best possible allies. If you treated humans with respect, if you shared their values, they would stand with you forever. They would protect you as fiercely as they protected their own. Trade routes that had been closed to humans opened wide. Alliances formed. New friendships grew between species who had barely spoken before. The galaxy became more connected because one small ship had been attacked, and humanity had responded with overwhelming force and absolute commitment. The story spread far and wide. Parents told it to their children. Teachers taught it in schools. Military officers studied it in academies. Everyone knew about the SOS that brought 127 ships. Everyone knew about the Armada. And whenever someone asked why humans responded the way they did, the answer was always the same. Because they were human. Because 847 of their own were in danger. Because that's what you do when family needs you. You send every ship you have. You send your best soldiers. You move heaven and earth if necessary. And you bring your people home. No matter what, no matter the cost, no matter the distance. Always. That was the lesson. That was the legacy. That was what it meant to be human. And the galaxy would never forget.